Ladies and gentlemen, dreamers and doers, seekers of purpose and fulfillment, welcome to Passion on Purpose, the podcast that sets your soul on fire and ignites the spark within you. I'm your host, Steph Hilfer, and I'm beyond thrilled you're here. Passion on Purpose features leaders, experts, and sometimes me on center stage. We put the spotlight on visionaries, entrepreneurs, leaders, experts, and everyday heroes to share their journey of self-discovery, enthusiasm, and unwavering determination. We'll explore how they use their passion and purpose to fuel their brand. Alongside our leaders, we'll provide practical tips, actionable advice, and wisdom from our experts across various fields. So if you're ready to unleash your inner fire, shake off the doubts and insecurities, and pursue a life of purpose with unbridled enthusiasm, then let's dive in. All right, guys, we are back with another episode of the Passion on Purpose podcast. And today, for episode 94, our leader on center stage is Stephanie Skryzowski, and she is with 100 Degrees Consulting. And I'm so excited to talk to her and learn more about 100 Degrees Consulting. There are so many agencies and consulting firms and professionals in the world sharing their knowledge and popping up in our new age of virtual business that are so talented and so supportive. And so I love seeing people really lean into, and maybe it's not new for Stephanie, we're going to dive into that, but lean into this like newer acceptable model of, supporting businesses nation and worldwide. So I just love supporting businesses like Stephanie's and bringing it to you all to get outside of the normal thinking, get outside of your box if you're in the box, and start really exploring these beautiful brains that are out there, ready and willing and itching to support you. So without further ado, we are going to dive in deep as we always do. And my poor guests, they just get thrown right into the water. But I'm just going to dive right in, Stephanie, and I'm going to start us off with, what is your why?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, Steph, thank you so much for having me. It's also kind of funny to be calling someone else Steph, as that's what my family calls me. So I'm like, okay, Steph. What is my why? That's such a great question. Well, I would say my why is sort of two-part. In the work that I do with nonprofit organizations, my why is to be able to allow and empower organizations to be financially strong and sustainable so they can have the impact that they are having on the world. I mean, these organizations are literally changing the world, and they can only do that if they are strong financially. So that's the first piece. And the second piece is my why is my two daughters. I have two little girls. They are 7 and 4 years old at the time of recording. And I just want them to see a mom who is lit up on fire by what she does for work, and just be an example to them.
That is amazing. And so you specifically niched down into the nonprofit world.
I did. Yeah. So I spent the first, 10, 12 years of my career or so working inside nonprofit organizations and traveling the world from Afghanistan to Nepal to Haiti to a number of countries in Africa. And that's where I really saw that mission, that impact firsthand. That's where my why was really solidified. And then I realized that the knowledge and the skills that I had could be applied to multiple nonprofit organizations all at once. And so that's when I founded my company and started this sort of fractional CFO model where I'm a CFO, not just for one organization, but a number. And then the business has just, sort of grown and multiplied since then.
Yes, I love it. I want to dive more into like the specific services and offerings and things that 100 Degrees Consulting offers. But before we get there, I want to learn a little bit more about you. And yes, I agree. Like Stephanie, Steph, it's so funny. I want to learn a little bit more about you, Stephanie. Tell me, what was like 5-year-old, 10-year-old, or 15-year-old Stephanie doing? If we had a reverse crystal ball and we could go back into time and just like peek in, like fly on the wall and see you, what would we see or hear and experience?
If you went back to 10-year-old Stephanie, you would see a girl that was constantly reading and Specifically, I remember going to the library, went to the library as a family like every single week. And I would continue to take out this one book that was titled something along the lines of like 101 money making ideas for kids. And like I took this book out over and over again. So I have always been a little bit of an entrepreneur, whether it was selling, painted seashells or lemonade, or running a day camp for the neighborhood kids, or doing odd jobs, walking dogs, babysitting. I have always been doing something to make money. And, fast forward to when I was a teenager, I always had at least one job. And at some points, I'm pretty sure I had at least two or maybe two or three jobs. So I've always been working, and always really, for better or for worse, perhaps, sort of found my own value in the amount of work that I was doing. And I think now as an adult, and running a business, I've sort of had to unravel that a little bit and unravel my self-worth from the amount of work that I do. So it's been a little bit of, a growth, a journey there. But yeah, little Stephanie was always having her hands in some sort of money-making, scheme, business idea.
I love that so much. I'm like sitting here thinking maybe it's a Stephanie thing, because that mirrors so much. Mine wasn't a book. Mine was a CD-ROM. It was the Babysitters Club CD-ROM. And it was like the catalyst. I'd always done like little businesses, like the lemonade stand. But that was the moment where like I had a resource that gave me and empowered me to realize as a young adult, as a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, somewhere in that window, like this Babysitters Club or this 101 ways for kids to make money. It's like empowering. It's yes. The permission slip to say this thing inside of you, this ache, this yearn, this natural innate thing that you want is okay, because now it's in a book saying it's okay, or now it's in a CD-ROM saying it's okay. And I think it's so funny that we kind of did need, at least maybe not for everyone, but it sounds like we had similar moments where like this thing validated that we can explore this passion we have without really knowing what the heck it is.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Oh, I love that. If I had that CD-ROM, I probably would have been all about it also.
It was so amazing. And I mean, it's again, the Babysitters Club series as a book and as a CD-ROM, the whole idea was really empowering these young women to do business, right? And so I think, yeah, that's such a cool, like kind of mirroring of each other that we have. I love that. So then fast forward, right? You said, you always were handful of jobs. So at what point did you I feel like if you're anything like me, there was a moment where you found yourself unemployable because you eventually were like, I gotta do my own thing. Like, I gotta do this. What was that journey like, or discovery like?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So, from the moment I was like 12 or 13 years old, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And I went on like a field trip to a courtroom. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to wear the high heels and the suit, and I want to be in the courtroom. And this is what I want to do. This high powered woman. And so I sort of I read every John Grisham novel available. That was like my foray into law. And then I sort of structured my undergraduate, career, whatever you want to call it, into being a lawyer. And so after college, actually in my last semester of college, I was like, well, I need an internship. And I was at my current internship looking for my first real world job. And so I Googled best law firms in the world. And the first one that popped up, I'm like, cool, I'm going to work there. And so I applied for a job as a legal assistant, kind of like a paralegal, for my first like real big girl job after college. I got the job. It was this huge law firm in Manhattan. So moved down to the New York City area right after school. And within less than a year, realized I wanted absolutely nothing to do with being a lawyer. Like, I hated everything about it. I didn't like the work. I didn't like the people, the environment. I just hated it all. And so while I was there, that's sort of when I stumbled into the nonprofit sector. Through somebody that I had met there. And so I was sort of in this exploratory, early 20s, like, what do I want to do with my life? I don't know. Law is definitely not it. And I remember just filling notebooks with ideas of like, well, what could I do? Like, maybe I could be a fitness instructor, or maybe I could be an event planner, like all these random things. landed into this, this nonprofit job and sort of fell in love with it. And I think it was the impact that I was able to go to Afghanistan many, many times and really see the impact of this work that the organization was doing. And I was like, this is it. And so, sort of fast forward again, I was the CFO of a $15 million nonprofit organization. I was doing incredible work around the world, and I was traveling every single month to Haiti, to Nepal, to Malawi. And it was at that time that I was like, I want to start a family, and I'm not sure how I'm going to bring a newborn to Nepal with me. So like something has to change here. And that's when the idea for the company came up. And it's interesting because I always sort of told myself, and I actually had bosses tell me, like, you're not a strategic thinker. You don't know how to have big ideas. You think inside the box. And so I always told myself that. And I was like, well, who am I to like build a company or like,
Right.
create this big thing? Like, I'm an inside the box thinker. And so when I started my company, I really had intended it to just be like a consulting gig for me. Like, give me a few clients, let me replace my salary and just like live my life. I did not intend to create a multi-million-dollar company with 16 employees and all the things. But it was over time, sort of through that journey, that I was like, excuse me, wait a second. I am a big picture thinker. I do think outside the box. I can create big things. And it sort of brought me all the way back to the childhood when I was like, yeah, let me create this business and get myself in the local newspaper for this business I've created as a 12-year-old. And, so I don't know, it was interesting. But then I think, again, in the journey, I've realized, like, to your point, what you said initially, yeah, I cannot go back to working for somebody else because I do have too many big ideas. There's too much impact that I want to have that, like, yeah, I can't go work under somebody else anymore.
Well, I knew that without even knowing you, right? We don't have much in familiar, like, I'm just getting to know you. And I knew that already just from what I can see from 100 Degrees Consulting, right? It's very clear that this is absolutely, you're all in. And it's so funny that you bring up the somebody else telling you that you're not an out of the box thinker, because my immediate thought was, what an out of the box business and consulting firm that she's created. Like it is like, it's existing, it's out there, but not enough people are taking advantage of it, realize it exists, realize how impactful it can be, how supportive it can be for a business who maybe isn't ready for a full-time CFO, but needs that same level of support. It is so out of the box. So it's just baffling me. It's baffling to hear that somebody would say that of you, but at the same token, not that anyone said it to me, but growing up, I believed I was not the creative one because my brother's the creative one. Now, no one instilled that I was not the creative one, but as a dynamic of two, you kind of assume, well, if he's this one, I can't be that one, So I kind of brought that assumption onto myself that I must not be the creative one. I must be the what I was often told was I was the bossy one. I was the leader. I was the rallying the crowd to play capture the flag instead of, all being separate on the playground. So it's funny when we kind of get these labels put on us, what it can do for our psyche until we finally find a way to break through that.
100%. I know. It also makes me really conscious of the things that I say to my own children, because I think about the labels that have been put on me and how long it's taken to like break free of them and sort of unravel that. And so, yeah, it's so interesting. I completely resonate with what you're saying.
Do you feel like there was anything in particular, or was it just a final, like, I can't allow myself to think that I'm the inside the box thinker anymore? Or was there a catalyst or a moment where you're like, I'm breaking this label that was put on me? Is there anything that resonates with you with kind of that moment of breaking that?
That's a good question. Maybe it was, maybe it was actually when we had our first $1 million year in terms of revenue for the company, and it was like, wait a second here. I have built a 7-figure company from scratch with basically like, there was not a formula. There's not a step-by-step checklist to follow. It's like, I just did the thing and learned along the way. Like an inside the box only thinker could not have done that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And I think there must be an incredibly strong value system and structured belief that you have instilled upon yourself, your team, and what you then give back to your clients. What does that look like for 100-degree consulting?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it's a lot of things. I mean, I think number one is that everybody on my team and I as well, like we all just really care. We really care about our clients, the organizations that we work with, and their missions. And so that automatically makes us put our best foot forward every single day to serve our clients with excellence. And we would not take a client whose mission we don't care about or that we're not passionate about. And that's another great thing about owning your own business. It's like, well, I don't have to work with this client if I don't want to. We get the choice of who we work with. And so I've, learned along the way what clients are really good fits, what types of organizations are a good fit, and which, more importantly, I think, which ones aren't. And so because we're able to discern like what's a really good fit, what are we really passionate about, everybody just brings 110% because we all care so deeply about helping our clients, helping these nonprofits win. And so I think that's like the biggest thing. And I would say the other piece and another one of our sort of shared values is our approachability and sort of the non-judgmental way we approach our clients, because a lot of times people come to us with a lot of fear around money and numbers and finance because they feel like, oh, I should know this, but I don't. And so I feel really scared and I'm intimidated to ask questions and I feel maybe even some shame. And so we really approach our clients with like, listen, there's no stupid questions. We are not here to spew a bunch of like technical accounting language at you.
Yeah.
We're here to support you and to hold you through this journey. And so I think that's the other piece that all of our team is really good at, is approaching our clients with like, we're here to hold your hand along the way. We're not here to judge you for like not knowing what you didn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important too, because nonprofits, so many nonprofits, especially the ones that stick around, they start what they start because of heart. They start it from a passion, a need, a desire, not necessarily for money, hence the nonprofit, hence the, and so then this like, I kind of like that you use the word, shame or embarrassment or like, I should know this. That is such a natural place that you would think they would land themselves into because you didn't get into this for that. But yet it is absolutely a part that you need to be on top of, especially as a nonprofit, especially as a nonprofit grows and becomes financially, becomes more and more financially, I don't know if well off is the word, but there's more finances coming in through the nonprofit. You absolutely need to have the right team member on your side that doesn't just know what the heck they're talking about, but to your point, cares. Like I think
100%.
top two line values is so in alignment with who you serve. And I just think that's beautiful. I love that.
Thanks.
So tell me, 100 Degrees Consulting is supporting nonprofits through the CFO. You had mentioned earlier, so let's kind of fill in the listeners who isn't 100% familiar with this term fractional. Fill us in a little bit on the nitty-gritty of what people experience with you.
Yes. So I will say that this applies to, if you're a small business owner as well, like you can have a fractional CFO. This is not something that's just exclusive to the nonprofit sector. And so if you're a business owner that's listening that you're like, oh, that sounds like something I could use. Well, fractional CFOs are for everybody. And so basically what that means is, fractional means essentially part-time. And so you get a piece of a CFO in this case. There's also fractional HR people, fractional chief marketing officers, fractional COOs, operating officers. So any position can really be fractional. But basically the whole point of it is like you're getting this high level expertise at a fraction of the cost because you're getting a fraction of the time. So you can get higher level talent that probably fits better within your budget and that could really help your organization move forward even faster and further than getting, say, a middle level person on a full-time basis. And so fractional CFO is Chief Financial Officer, if you haven't picked that up so far. But basically, we're helping with the financial strategy of the organization and doing things like creating a budget and looking at projections and forecasting. We're helping manage cash flow. We're analyzing the financial statements. So like, you have a P&L, a profit and loss, and you're like, what does this mean? That's why you have a CFO to help you look at the numbers and make really smart strategic decisions using those numbers. So that's what a fractional or a CFO or a fractional CFO does. And then we also do bookkeeping. And so in order to be able to analyze the financial statements, we need good data going in. And that's exactly what a bookkeeper does. And so we're in QuickBooks Online for our clients every day. We're reconciling the accounts. We are making sure that the data going in is good so that the reports coming out are also good. And we can use those to make smart decisions.
Yeah, this is, if all of those things were making you go, I know that's a term I should know. I know I'm supposed to do that reckon thing every month. Like this is like, you're not alone at all. This is exactly why like 100 Degrees Consulting is such a great resource for, listeners. Now, I just want to clarify. I agree. Like there are fractional CFOs and fractional C-suite positions and lots of positions, but I want to clarify just for sake of your business for 100 Degree Consulting. Are you exclusive to nonprofits?
We are exclusive to nonprofits. Yes, we are. Yep.
Sure. So my listeners that are, nonprofits, that are no nonprofits, that, partake in nonprofit efforts, and you are thinking, gosh, I wonder if they know someone, like Stephanie would be a great resource. So I just wanted to clarify because you did such a good job of making sure people know that this exists for small businesses of any type of profit level. Just make sure I clarify that. Yep. So, okay, give me just like the quick rundown of, who of these listeners, right? We've got a little bit of depth with you. We've got to learn a little bit more about 100 Degrees Consulting. I love hearing about the younger Stephanie. Who needs this? Who is this for? Who do you serve? And what is like the easiest way to get into your world?
Yes. So we provide CFO and bookkeeping services to nonprofits in the US. I will say, we work with a lot of organizations overseas, but the main criteria is you are a 501c3 nonprofit in the United States. And our ideal clients are anywhere from, $500,000 in revenue annually and above. And so little tiny startup nonprofits are probably not the right fit for us. We're working with a little bit more established and, much more established organizations. So that is who we work with exactly. And then to get in touch, I would love to share a cash flow forecasting template that we have that I think anybody listening could find useful. Again, it's created for nonprofits, but it's 100% applicable to small businesses as well. And so that is at 100degreesconsulting.com/cash.
Oh, easy. 100 Degrees Consulting. So that's 100, guys. So if you're not, dive into the show notes, you can click the link. But if you're just listening to this, make sure you do 100degreesconsulting.com/cash. I will say, anyone listening, if you are like, oh, I know I should do that. I just don't know. It's going to be too much. I really strongly encourage you to go get this resource, because understanding and just knowing a little bit enough to be dangerous of your own cash flow is really going to be it's going to be a good, I don't have no idea how long it would take, but like set aside an hour and just go absorb this resource. It is vital for you, wherever you're at in your business, to start to understand like what cash flow is, what it means, how it can impact your business, how it can bring peace of mind to you as an owner. It's so important. So I love that resource. That is such a great gift for the listeners. So thank you for that. What is next for 100 Degree Consulting?
Well, what is next is I am writing a book right now. So I'm so excited. The book is called Do Good and Prosper. And it is for people who are working in, the do good space, but often find themselves becoming a martyr to the mission of their work. And so this book is showing readers how they can do good with their work and also live a really prosperous, thriving, vibrant life.
Oh my goodness, how exciting. And I know a book is not it's not a haphazardly like, oh, let's decide to do a book and it'll be done in a couple months kind of thing. It is a journey. So where are you at in that journey? Where do we have a expected release date? Am I pushing too soon? Like, where are you at?
I love that you're asking this because it is a journey. It's a journey that started in my head about 5 years ago, and it's only coming to real fruition like now. And so right now I'm working on the manuscript and looking for an agent slash publisher. So
Nice.
putting that out into the world, but yes,
Okay.
working on the manuscript right now.
Oh my goodness. Well, I applaud you for doing that. I'm similar. I feel like there's so many similarities. By the way, I totally wanted to be a lawyer at one point too. Like
You
how
did?
hilarious. Except for
So funny.
it was just enough like I wanted to wear the cute outfits, but then I really quickly got out of it. So I didn't do
Right.
nearly as much as you did, but how funny, right? But I also have been ideating a book in my head for years. And so we might have to pick each other's brains
Yes.
about that.
I'm here for
Well,
it.
I'm so excited. I genuinely encourage listeners to check out these fractional models. Here at VIM, we have a fractional branding and marketing officer's opportunity. We call it our CBMO, Chief Branding and Marketing Officer. So we believe in and understand the power of these fractional service offerings that exist out there. So again, some trigger words were popping up. If you're resonating with what Stephanie is sharing, I encourage you to get that free resource. Check out 100 Degrees Consulting. Get that show notes link and get that resource. And thank you for listening, and share this episode. If you know nonprofits or business owners who need to understand their finances a little more, get this in the hands of them, folks. Okay? Well, thank you, Stephanie. I really appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me, Steph.
All right, guys, until next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Passion on Purpose podcast. I truly hope you got a lot of value out of this episode. So if you did, please rate, review, and share. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, whether a leader or an expert, please go to getvim.com/podcast and you will find our application page, or reach out to me directly and I can give you more information.